Now let's discuss on the function of the alpha and beta intercalated disk. So side by side we will discuss the alpha intercalated disk function and beta intercalated disk function and how they will actually work during the acidotic situation and alkalotic situation under the physiological circumstances. So let's begin. One is the alpha intercalated disk here, and another part here is the beta intercalated disk function. So to understand this thing, first divide the area into three zones. One is the renal tubule, one is the medullary interstitium, and epithelial cells. So here it is the epithelial cell layer. Here is the renal tubule. Of course, it is the distal part of the nephron, and here it is the medullary interstitium or at the capillary networks. What happens here? When hydrogen ion and bicarbonate ion will reach at the distal part of the nephron, they react with each other at the level of the cell membrane of epithelial cell via the carbonic anhydrase type 4, as we have already discussed this thing, and produce H2O and CO2. These H2 and CO2 immediately react with each other via the carbonic anhydrase type 4, type 2 here enzyme and produce hydrogen ion as well as the bicarb. Now this hydrogen ion will be secreted here, and this hydrogen ion will be secreted by the two ways. One, only by single primary active transport mechanism. The channel or pump is known as hydrogen ion ATPase, and or hydrogen ion can be secreted by the action of potassium hydrogen ion exchanger. So potassium ion will enter here, potassium ion will enter here, and hydrogen ion will be moving out. So by this way, either by the hydrogen ATPase H plus ATPase, which is the primary active transport mechanism, or by the secondary active transport mechanism, that is the potassium hydrogen ion exchanger, this hydrogen ion will be secreted in the distal part of the nephron via the alpha intercalated cell, and this bicarbonate will be reabsorbed via the chloride bicarbonate exchanger. So chloride ion will enter into the cell here, and bicarbonate eventually come into the circulation. So this is the process by which alpha intercalated disk function, and during the acidotic situation under the physiological circumstances, this hydrogen ion, excess hydrogen ion, will be removed from the body. Now come to the beta intercalated disk function, how it will work. So here, to understand this thing, again we have to divide the zones. First it is the epithelial cell, here it is the distal part of the nephron renal tubule, and here it is the medullary interstitium. So what happens when hydrogen ion and bicarbonate will reach here? It will react immediately via the carbonic anhydrase type 4, carbonic anhydrase type 4. So and produce H2O and CO2. Again they will react with each other via the carbonic anhydrase type 2 enzyme and produce bicarbonate and hydrogen ion. Now this hydrogen ion will be reabsorbed only by the hydrogen ion ATPase pump. So it is solely due to primary active transport mechanism by which hydrogen ion will be reabsorbed, and bicarbonate will be secreted and eventually excreted with the urine by the chloride bicarbonate exchanger here. So here what happens, bicarbonate will not be reabsorbed, rather it will be secreted and or eventually it will be excreted away by the chloride bicarbonate exchanger pump. So during the alkalotic situation under the physiological circumstances, this excess bicarbonate load will be secreted so that the body pH will be neutralized again. So these are the two basic functions of the alpha and beta intergalactic disk. Now come to the topic which we will discuss about the factors regulating hydrogen ion secretion in the tubular fluid. So hydrogen ion secretion in the tubular fluid will depend upon few factors. What are those? Let's start. Let's discuss. So hydrogen ion secretion, increment of the hydrogen ion secretion will occur either due to primary reason or by the secondary. So primary causes and the secondary causes. Primary causes for hydrogen ion secretion will be the decreased bicarbonate load in the tubular or in the extracellular fluid, or increase in the partial pressure of the carbon dioxide, or increase in the cortisol hormone. Secondary causes are increased bicarbonate in the filtered load, increased bicarbonate if it is increased in the tubular fluid. Here it is the tubular fluid. So increased bicarbonate in the tubular fluid, number one cause. Number two, if there is extracellular volume contraction, extracellular volume if it is decreased. And third one is the increased aldosterone level and hypokalemia. So aldosterone level if it is increased, or if there is hypokalemia. So these are the causes by which hydrogen secretion increment will occur. Next, we will discuss the factors that will help to decrease hydrogen ion secretion in the tubular fluid. So here again, there are two factors. One is the primary cause and one is the secondary. So primary causes are increased bicarbonate ion, just the opposite thing, increased bicarbonate in the extracellular fluid, and decrease or decrement in the partial pressure of the carbon dioxide. Secondary reasons are decreased bicarbonate in the tubular fluid, or we can say increase extracellular volume or expansion of the extracellular volume. Next, hyperkalemia and hypoaldosteronism. Hyperkalemia, that means increase in the potassium ion concentration, and hypoaldosteronism, so decrease in the aldosterone concentration. So these are the factors by which the hydrogen ion secretion will occur. Now, formation of new bicarbonate. We will discuss the formation of new bicarbonate. How it can be possible? It can be possible by the synthesis and secretion of one ion, ammonium ion, into the tubular lumen, and thereafter one bicarbonate will regenerate and eventually it will be reabsorbed. So reabsorption of filtered bicarbonate is not enough to replenish the lost bicarbonate for neutralizing the non-volatile acid. So as we previously discussed, that the excess non-volatile acid will be neutralized either by the hydrogen ion secretion or by addition of the urinary buffer system, which is known as titratable acidity. But still, these factors are not enough to neutralize the non-volatile acid load which is present in our body. So to combat this situation, body will do what? It will increase synthesis and secretion of ammonium ion so that new bicarbonate will be again regenerate. So regeneration or formation of new bicarbonate is done by the synthesis and secretion of ammonium ion. So ammonium ion is produced in kidneys by the metabolism of glutamine in the proximal part of the nephron. So how it can be possible? How the glutamine metabolism will lead to synthesis and secretion of the ammonium ion, that we will dealt. Here in the proximal part of the nephron, suppose it is the epithelial cell, and here it is the proximal convoluted tubule, and it is the medullary interstitium. Here glutamine is present inside the cell. It is the stored amino acid. Now this glutamine will be converted into ammonium and bicarbonate by the action of the enzyme that is known as glutaminase. Here oxidation and acidification will occur. Acidification will occur. That will lead to synthesis of ammonium ion and the bicarbonate ion. Now this ammonium ion, either it can convert into ammonia and easily pass through the cell membrane, come into the proximal convoluted tubule, and again immediately react with the hydrogen ion which is present in the PCT, and it will form the ammonium ion. This is one thing which can be possible. Or it can also be transported as ammonium ion in exchange of sodium ion. So this is the ammonium sodium exchanger. The channel here operating is known as hyperpolarized cyclic nucleotide channel 2. This hyperpolarized cyclic nucleotide channel is also present in other parts of the body, such as the SA node, which is known as pacemaker of the cell, where subtype 4 of hyperpolarized cyclic nucleotide channel, which is also known as funny channel, due to sodium ion activation during the hyperpolarized state. That's why it's known as hyperpolarized cyclic nucleotide channel. So this hyperpolarized cyclic nucleotide channel 2 is working here, and hyperpolarized cyclic nucleotide channel 4 is working at the level of the SA node, which is known as pacemaker of the cell. So whatever, here the ammonium ion, first it can convert into ammonia and immediately pass through the cell membrane and come with the in the proximal convoluted tubule, react with the hydrogen ion and produce ammonium ion. This is the first pathway. And other pathway by which ammonium ion can come into the proximal convoluted tubule by the hyperpolarized cyclic nucleotide channel 2, and sodium ion will be taken up. Now this sodium ion and the bicarbonate eventually come into the circulation or the medullary interstitium by the action of sodium bicarbonate cotransporter 1. So sodium bicarbonate cotransporter 1 is the channel by which, via the secondary active transport mechanism, symporter mechanism, this bicarbonate as well as sodium ion will be reabsorbed. Sodium ion will be reabsorbed. So this is the process by which one ammonium ion, here it will synthesis, and for which one bicarbonate we will get in our circulation. Now what is the fate of this ammonium ion further? Now this ammonium ion eventually come into the thick ascending limb of the loop of Henle. Here this ammonium ion will be taken up from the renal tubule via the sodium potassium 2 chloride ion symporter. Here this potassium ion will be replaced by the ammonium ion. This potassium ion will be replaced by the ammonium ion, and this ammonium ion along with the sodium and 2 chloride ion, it will come into the cell, and eventually it can transfer into the medullary interstitium. First it will convert into ammonia, and then again it will take up by the medullary interstitium and again react with the hydrogen ion and produce the ammonium ion. So this is the process by which the secreted ammonium ion, which was present in the proximal part of the nephron, when this tubular fluid will come into the thick ascending limb of the loop of Henle, ammonium ion will be again reabsorbed at via this sodium potassium 2 chloride ion importer and come into the medullary interstitium area. So afterwards, again this ammonium ion will be secreted and finally it will be excreted, and this function will be possible at this level of the distal part of the nephron at the late part of the collecting duct. Here, by the two mechanism by which this ammonium ion can be secreted in the collecting duct as well as excreted in the urine. First is the ammonium ion is present in the medullary interstitium. Now this ammonium ion either can immediately convert into the ammonia, and straight away it can diffuse to the cell membrane and come into the collecting duct and react with the hydrogen ion, so that the ammonium ion will be excreted. This is the process which is known as non-ionic passive diffusion. Non-ionic passive diffusion. Non-ionic passive diffusion. In other way, it can be excreted by the diffusion trapping by the help of RHBG and RHCG channel. So this can again be excreted in the collecting duct. First, it will encounter with the RHBG channel, and this is known as research subgroup BG channel, and here it is the research subgroup CG channel. So by this two channel function, it will actually trapped in this channel and it will eventually pass through the cell membrane and come into the collecting duct and eventually excreted in the urine. So by this process, first ammonium ion will be synthesized and secreted in the proximal part of the nephron, for which one ion of the bicarbonate will generate and it will be reabsorbed. It will be reabsorbed from the proximal part of the nephron. Then ammonium ion come into the thick ascending limb of the loop of Henle. It will again be reabsorbed in the medullary interstitium, and finally at the level of the collecting duct, distal part of the collecting duct, this ammonium ion again will be secreted in the collecting duct from the medullary interstitium, either by the non-ionic passive diffusion or by the diffusion trapping. So these are the basic thing that you must. Now let's talk about the acid-base imbalance. To understand this thing, first we have to write down the basic reaction. H2O plus CO2, it will dissociate by the carbonic anhydrase in the H plus HCO3 minus. So this is the basic formula, wherefrom we can understand the acid-base imbalance. Along with that, to understand the acid-base imbalance, the magic figures that you need to remember is that concentration of the carbon dioxide or the partial pressure of the carbon dioxide PCO2. Partial pressure of the carbon dioxide is how much? It is around 45 millimeter of mercury. Then concentration of the bicarbonate is around 22 to 26 milli equivalent per liter, but on an average it is 24 milli equivalent per liter, and the body pH is neutral pH is 7.4. It is not 7 that you have taught in our +2 level. the pH, neutral pH is 7, but here for our body function, the from the physiological point of view, the body pH, neutral pH will be 7.4. So these are the few magic figures that you need to remember always to understand the acid base disorder or acid base imbalance equations. So first you will write down the pH. pH, either it can be less than 7.4 or it can be either more than 7.4. Now you have to see the bicarbonate level. Bicarbonate is how much? It is of course 24 milliequivalent per liter, and PCO2, it can be more than 40 or 45 millimeter of mercury. So if bicarbonate is less than 24 milliequivalent per liter, that means it is the metabolic acidosis. And if PCO2 is more than 40 or 45 millimeter of mercury, it is the respiratory acidosis. Now, if the metabolic acidosis you will get, then you have to check the PCO2 level. PCO2 level. PCO2, if it is less than 44, 45, that means it is the respiratory compensation. And here, if PCO2 is more than 45, that means it is respiratory acidosis. Immediately you have to check the bicarbonate level. If this bicarbonate level is more than 24 milliequivalent per liter, that means it is due to renal compensation. So after having this part, you have to again check if there is respiratory compensation occur. You have to understand whether it is due to purely metabolic acidosis and compensatory respiratory acidosis or respiratory alkalosis, sorry, whether it is due to metabolic acidosis and compensated respiratory alkalosis, or it is due to the secondary disorder that are present in our body. So if there is compensated respiratory acidosis, respiratory compensation is there, then you have to use this equation. PCO2 is equal to 1.5 into bicarbonate plus 8 plus minus 2. This is known as Winter's formula. Winter's formula. Winter's formula. So what I mean to say that first you have to see the pH. If it is less than 7.4, then you have to check the bicarbonate. If it is less than 24, that means it is metabolic acidosis. At this level, PCO2 for compensatory function should be less than 45 millimeter of mercury. If it is less than 45 millimeter of mercury, then you have to check whether it is purely compensatory mechanism or there is some other secondary disorder is present. So the figure for the PCO2 that are written in your equation, if it will match with this equation, that is the PCO2 is equal to 1.5 plus into bicarbonate plus 8 plus minus 2, then you can understand that it is due to respiratory compensation. But if in your equation PCO2 level will be more than that or will be less than this figure, then you can understand it is not the compensatory respiratory mechanism. It is are separate entities like the metabolic acidosis. That means in that equation you have to write that metabolic acidosis and respiratory acidosis, not the compensatory respiratory alkalosis. This is the thing. Similarly, when you will get the respiratory acidotic situation and you will check the bicarbonate level, that is more than 20, should be more than 24 milliequivalent per liter, it can be either renal compensation or it can be due to secondary disorder. In this case, you have to again divide this thing in acute phase, acute respiratory acidotic situation, compensatory renal function, and chronic. In case of acute, the bicarbonate load should be equal to the PCO2 divided by 10. So difference in the PCO2 and 10. And the chronic compensatory function bicarbonate should be 3.5 into PCO2 divided by 10. So these are the equation by which you can understand whether there is compensatory metabolic renal compensation, compensatory renal mechanism is continuing, or some other secondary disorder will produce or not. So this is the thing that I mean to say. Now, if pH is more than 7.4, then either it can be metabolic alkalosis or respiratory alkalosis. In case of metabolic alkalosis, bicarbonate should be more than 24, and in case of respiratory alkalosis, PCO2 should be less than 45 or 40 millimeter of mercury. So here it is the metabolic alkalosis, here it is the respiratory alkalosis. Metabolic alkalotic situation can be compensated by the respiratory mechanism if PCO2 more than 40 or 45 millimeter of mercury. To check this respiratory compensation, whether there is secondary disorder present or not, again you have to use the formula that PCO2 that are written in your equation should be equal to 0.7 into bicarbonate. So if it is same with your equation, then you can understand there is compensatory mechanism is going on. But if it is not, that means it will mean that the metabolic alkalosis along with the respiratory alkalotic situation is occurred. There is no compensation. It is a separate entity or secondary disorder. Now, if PCO2 here it is more less than 45, that means it is respiratory alkalosis. So at this situation, respiratory alkalosis, if it is there to compensate, there should be the bicarbonate load less than 24. So it is for kidney compensation. To check this whether there is exactly the kidney compensation is there or some other secondary mechanism, secondary disorder is present or not, to have idea about this thing, you have to again divide this thing in acute phase and chronic phase. So in case of acute, the equation should be 2 into PCO2 divided by 10. That is the bicarbonate load should be there. And for chronic respiratory alkalotic situation, the bicarbonate compensatory mechanism bicarbonate should be equal to 4 into PCO2 divided by 10. And by these equations, which are also known as Winter's formula, you can understand whether there is exactly the compensatory mechanism is going on or some other secondary disorder is present or not. So in a summarized way, in your MCQs related with the acid-base disorder, during the question of the acid-base imbalance or disorder, if you will get metabolic acidosis, expected PCO2 should be matched with this equation. That means 1.5 into bicarbonate plus 8 plus minus 2. And if it will match with this equation, that means this is a problem related with metabolic acidosis along with the compensated respiratory alkalosis. But if the PCO2 level
will not match with this equation, or rather it will less than the this figure, then it is not the compensatory mechanism, rather it is due to a secondary disorder. Maybe it is metabolic acidosis along with the respiratory acidosis if it is not matched with this equation. So metabolic acidosis along with the respiratory acidosis. If any secondary disorder type equation is there where the given PCO2 value will not match with that equation. Next, come to the metabolic alkalotic situation. In that metabolic alkalotic situation, again you have to check the PCO2 level, whether the expected PCO2 value is matched with this equation or not. That means 0.7 into bicarbonate. This is the Winter's formula or the delta formula. And if the given PCO2 value match with that equation, that means it is solely due to compensatory mechanism. That means this equation will be termed as metabolic alkalosis along with the compensatory respiratory acidosis. But if the PCO2 value will not match with that equation, then it is due to some other secondary disorder. At that time, you have to choose the option that is the metabolic alkalosis along with the respiratory alkalosis. So again, if it is matched with that equation, then the option should be metabolic alkalosis along with the compensatory respiratory acidosis. But if it is not matched with that equation, that time the answer should be metabolic alkalosis along with the respiratory alkalosis. This is due to secondary disorder. Similarly, in case of respiratory acidosis situation, it can be either acute or it can be either chronic. Any of these two situations can be present in your equation. So in case of acute compensation, acute compensation made by the bicarbonate, what happens? 1 milliequivalent of increase in bicarbonate will produce or increase 10 millimeter mercury partial pressure of the carbon dioxide. So at that time, the delta bicarbonate should be delta PCO2 divided by 10. And if your given bicarbonate value in the equation match with this formula, that means it is solely due to acute respiratory acidosis along with the compensatory metabolic alkalosis. But if it is not matched with this equation, that means your answer should be acute respiratory acidosis plus metabolic acidosis. It is due to secondary disorder. In case of chronic condition, the 3.5 milliequivalent increase bicarbonate will lead to increase in the 10 millimeter mercury partial pressure of the carbon dioxide. Here, then compensatory Winter formula should be delta bicarbonate is equal to 3.5 into delta PCO2 divided by 10. And if the given bicarbonate value match with this equation, that means it is the solely compensatory mechanism. That means here you can write respiratory acidosis, chronic respiratory acidosis along with the compensatory metabolic alkalosis. But if this equation will not match with this formula, then it is due to secondary disorder. That means at that time the option will be chronic respiratory acidosis plus chronic metabolic acidosis, not the compensatory metabolic alkalosis. And finally, in case of respiratory alkalosis, here also the situation can be acute or can be chronic. So in that case, in acute compensation will be like this way. When 2 milliequivalent in decrease in the bicarbonate will occur, that will lead to decrease in the 10 millimeter mercury partial pressure of the carbon dioxide, and the equation should be delta bicarbonate is equal to 2 into delta PCO2 divided by 10. And if it is matched with this equation, the given bicarbonate value, that means it is compensatory mechanism. Then your answer should be acute respiratory alkalosis plus compensatory metabolic acidosis. But if it is not matched with this equation, then your answer should be acute respiratory alkalosis plus acute metabolic alkalosis. So this is the thing that you need to understand. And finally, in case of chronic condition, chronic respiratory alkalosis condition, here also 4 milliequivalent decrease bicarbonate concentration will occur for when there is decrease in the 10 millimeter mercury PCO2. So the related formula here, the Winter formula or delta delta formula here, to check the compensation or the secondary disorder, the given in the given equation, the expected bicarbonate value should be 4 into delta PCO2 divided by 10. And if it is matched with this equation, that means it is compensation. Compensation is going on here. That means here answer should be chronic respiratory alkalosis plus compensatory metabolic acidosis. The chronic respiratory alkalosis plus compensatory metabolic acidosis. But if it is not matched with this equation, then your option should be chronic respiratory alkalosis plus another secondary disorder. It could be chronic metabolic alkalosis.